Okay, I see it's 7 o'clock. Good evening, everyone, members of the commission, all our stakeholders in the audience, staff. This is the November 19th regular meeting of the Stonington Planning and Zoning Commission. Let the record reflect that the meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. First item on the agenda is appoint alternates, and I see that all our regular members are here this evening, so there will be no such appointments. What's the commission's pleasure on the next item, minutes number 1773?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for meeting number 1773 from November 4th, 2024, as written and submitted.
Motion made to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Thank you both. Any discussion on the motion? I think we have one question, correct?
I have a question on meeting minutes 1772.
Oh, okay.
Don't have those with me.
Is that on the agenda?
No, they were on the last agenda, which
Oh, okay.
changed, and before I sign the final minutes. So I don't know if you want to vote on vote on the...
Why don't we vote on the motion
Yeah.
and you can raise that issue. Thank you.
Perfect.
All in favor of approving the minutes of November 4th, 2024?
Aye.
I'll abstain, I wasn't here.
I wasn't here either, actually.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Okay, now 1772. What is the issue?
Yeah, and again, I apologize, but this is the special virtual meeting that was held on October 23rd, where we discussed the Lord's Point would be removed from the recommended rezoning list. What was not discussed at that meeting, to the best of my recollection, is we did not reconsider renaming this zone to Lord's Point 20, LP 20. That was not mentioned at all during that meeting. I don't know if it was mentioned in another meeting, but that was not discussed.
Okay, I was not there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I
You got
had
corrected.
a funeral service.
I brought that up at our last meeting here.
Yeah.
We discussed it,
Oh,
because
we did?
Commissioner Morrison mentioned that as well. And my recollection of the discussion and what we talked about was that the residents of Lord's Point wanted to stay the same, but in the context of the other recommendations we had, we were proposing to remove the RM20 zone. And so if they wanted to stay the same, they couldn't in line with our other recommendations. So Francisco briefly mentioned that they would have to basically stay the same zone, which would require a name change. But that's what we talked about last time.
So again, and I think Gary said the same thing, I don't recall that there was any discussion on renaming to Lord's Point 20. I'm sorry, maybe that was,
So recording of any sort with me?
yeah.
Why don't we just listen to the recording?
Yeah. So I'm not going to sign these final minutes at this point.
Well, I don't think you should. Let's check the recording.
Okay, just want to make sure.
And,
Yeah.
you know, whatever the recording says,
Because I didn't remember that either, and I brought that up at the last meeting.
Okay.
I know
Is
we
everybody-
talked a lot about the rezone, or what they wanted to do, but I don't remember like a Lord's Point zone.
So is everybody satisfied that if we check the recording, that'll address the issue?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
great,
fine.
thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Okay, that brings us to public comment. This is the point in the minutes, or the meeting where anyone from the public can come up and identify themselves and discuss any issue that they have for the board that isn't on the agenda. Anybody wish to speak at this time? There aren't really many other opportunities, there's really no other opportunities on this agenda for you to speak, so if you have anything you want to say to the commission. Hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence. Clifton?
None.
No correspondence and reports. I'd like to introduce this first staff report by saying that we did have a quorum at the last meeting. It was barely a quorum. And Clifton gave an excellent presentation on the decision-making authority of the board. And there's also an excellent written document that goes through all the items in detail. And as long as I've been doing this kind of thing, I thought that I was up to speed on most of this stuff, and I wasn't, so I encourage you to look at it very closely, particularly as it relates to, our authority in commenting on certain things, and when we deny something, what we've got to put on the record to make sure that the denial stands. Again, it's very helpful information, so I appreciate the good staff work, Clifton. It's an excellent document and a good tool for the commission moving forward. Do you want to just mention a few high points in it that for those who weren't here?
No, I included it again in the staff report just to send it out a second time. Really, I think the core, what I'm looking to get out of this is just minor tweaks to the procedure moving forward. I don't think there's anything that's, grossly out of line, but it's more just making sure that we either are citing our reasons for denial, our general expertise as commissioners, what expertise you're bringing to the table when you're weighing in on something, and then just reflecting back on the regulations as they are written. Because I think some of what we might get confused or conflated about is we're talking about subjects through the zoning rewrite that are not the ones that the commission has authority over currently, and so sometimes in our discussions we might conflate one or two things, and it's just good practice to make sure that we're all on the same page of what the regulations currently are as they stand. So that's all I'll leave it.
Thank you. Again, I encourage everybody to read it closely. It's an excellent document and good guidance as we continue to make decisions on this board. Next item on the agenda is an update on the POCD. Clifton?
So Chuck, you asked me to put this on as a standing item. I don't have a robust update for the commission at this time. We conducted the interviews last week with the steering committee. Thank you, both Chuck and Ryan, for sitting on that. So as we discussed at previous meetings, I sat down with Danielle, and Chuck sat down with Danielle and said the commission wanted to have 2 members on the selection committee. Chuck and Ryan did sit in on those meetings. So we conducted them. I think we'll have a decision by the end of this week. And so once we do that, I'll work with the director of finance to get that contracted out, and then everything that's been submitted, all the score sheets, all the questions will become public record, and so then we can all review them, ask any questions that we have at that time.
I'll also add to that once a draft contract is put together, this will come back to the commission for review of the scope of services. And the advertisement was broad enough, the questions that we asked are broad enough, and I think the scope is broad enough where if the commission has issues or concerns and wants to amplify the scope of services in any area, the commission will get a look at it. So that will be the subject of.
I'll add that after that point, when we kind of go through a more formal transition process, as now that the contract has been signed and is official, the firm that we work with will now be working directly with the commission on moving forward throughout the POCD process. So although the staff will be executing the contract and getting all the deliverables and everything together on an administrative end, we'll go back to the process very similar to what FHI is doing with the zoning rewrite, where the meetings will be directly with the commission. At a future point, we'll also have to have a discussion about subcommittees versus steering committees versus just the commission broadly. But I would like to wait for the contracted firm to have those discussions with you. I don't want to make a decision obviously now without having that firm, having you guys have the opportunity to meet them.
How many firms did you interview?
We received and interviewed 4 firms.
So you interviewed all the people who submitted?
Thank you, Clifton. If there are no further questions, move on to item B. Anything under that, Clifton, at all? Commissioner? Moving on to item C, zoning enforcement and violations. Any questions for Clifton?
I just have a sort of a, I guess, procedural question. So we get this report every month, and there's a lot of things here that are dated, you know, March, you know. Do we ever get an update on why it hasn't been taken off and what they're doing? I mean, there's an update in July. I mean, just see like things just linger on here.
The ones that are on there are lingering because they haven't been closed out.
Well, I understand
So,
that, but like, when do you say like they have to do something? I mean, are they working on it? Are they, I mean, there's so many.
There are a couple, it's usually the items in italics that are saying, you know, what's either pending or what's being
Right,
done.
but so, okay, so 58 Moss, I'm picking totally random one, 58 Moss Street, someone's living in the RV on the property, there's a notice of violation issued in September. Like, what's happened since then? I mean, you know, is the zoning enforcement officer working on these continually, or does she just issue a notice of violation and just wait for them to? What's the process?
They're continually being worked on, but until the notice of violation is removed, it's not going to be updated on this report.
So what's the next step after someone gets a notice of violation?
So
Then they get a cease and desist after that or something?
pretty much.
But is there like a timeline, so like they get a notice of violation, then they have 60
Yeah,
days
but
to?
in some cases, the, you know, the offender is responding, and so there's a limit on whether or not the cease and desist can be, you know, there's some flexibility in that process.
I mean, some things just looks really easy, like someone's living in their RV, so you're like, stop living in your RV. I know.
Yeah, but if they
Right.
choose not to, then you end.
Then it's,
Yeah.
right. Okay, I was just wondering, because some things are just,
But you would, if, for example, just in this random selection, I don't know anything about it, but let's say there was a fine being imposed, that would be on the updated report, fine imposed.
The zoning enforcement officer doesn't include the fines on this, but we do keep track of the fines internally.
so these people are being fined daily or
In some
something?
in some cases.
Okay. Okay.
Any
So
other
I guess
questions?
what is our action towards this then? So
This is just for
it's
informational
just
purposes.
information pass.
Okay.
That's all it is. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, my experience with zoning enforcement is that
It's hard.
it's pursuit, and nothing happens immediately, particularly if legal counsel is involved. And so I think what the zoning enforcement officer does is just try to give us a snapshot of what's out there, what's still active.
Yeah.
And if, I guess there's additional columns that would help any of us, you know, just indicate what they are, and we'll try to get the information for you. Okay, administrative review, no items under administrative review? This could be a quick meeting tonight. Okay, old business. Application PZ 2431 SPA, Hunter Savannah LLC. Is there, this is old business, so
Yeah, they're here.
you're here this evening?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any
Could you
questions?
just do a brief introduction of the project? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So we're.
If you mind, come up to the mic, thank you, both of you. And just state your name and address for the record.
Okay, so my name's Elizabeth, and it's for 70 Alpha Ave in Stonington. We're a remodeling and building company, and we're trying to get a mobile office unit on the premise for a short-term period, probably for 18 months. It may be less. But we've hired 2 more employees, and the office can only accommodate 3 at the moment, and it's extremely loud and hard to discuss any sensitive information. So we're looking to put a mobile unit on the premise temporarily.
So this is for your own use?
Yes,
It
for
is.
our employees, yes. And there's no bathroom, no plumbing, no hooked up to sewage, nothing like that.
Just lights and power and, I'm sorry, power and connection to communications?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Would 18 months do it if, because we want to make sure that we
Yeah.
have a time frame.
If
on this.
anything, it would be less, but definitely 18 months, yes. We're right now, we're in a look-back period since we received our certificate of occupancy, so we can't do any other renovations or attempt to do that until that 1-year look-back period is up, so we're kind of stuck.
Okay.
So that's why we need it.
Any questions of the applicants?
I don't have it.
No, but I do feel we should state very clearly what the
Well,
limitation is,
yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Clifton, any conditions at all or recommendations of the staff on this one?
Nope. Just to answer your point, Lynn, this is one of those scenarios where it's a temporary structure, but in terms of the regulations, we don't have temporary, and so it's just considered permanent and outright, so there can't be a limitation on the number or the months of operation. It could be the hours of operation, let's say if it's a business, but not the months of operation of the structure. So they're saying 18 months, but we can't stipulate that.
Would it become a zoning violation after a certain time? The trailer on the lot like that we could enforce? It wouldn't.
No,
Would it become a non-conforming use?
no,
Not
because the structure still has to meet all of the setbacks, all of the FAR requirements,
fine.
everything like that. So that's why it's considered permanent
Yeah.
in terms of the way that the regulations are written down, but we can't regulate anything more than that.
But we do when it comes to the seaport because it's in a special zone unto itself.
For the covered structures, and that's on, well, so those are individual storage structures that are, again, permitted by right, but they're taken and moved around. So that's why we had the one last time, where it was, the temporary structure was approved on the master plan, but then it was getting moved, and so the commission had to re-review it.
Okay.
But the structure itself is permitted to stay in that one location and come up and down permanently.
That's a problem.
Well, we're taking a little risk here, I guess, in approving this, but
I can assure
we trust you. We
It
trust you.
will be 18 months, I promise.
Okay.
I
But then
promise.
what happens if you sell, the property is sold, just say, 10 years down the line? Property is sold, the structure has been removed, they can put another structure on, they don't have to come back to
Next person
us.
would come in and
They'd have
say,
to
I want to
apply,
put another
yeah.
structure there.
Right.
And we don't have a grounds to say that.
Well, because it still follows the bulk requirements, so it's not interfering in it in any way.
Any other questions?
Nope.
What's the commission's pleasure on item A under old business?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application for Hunter Savannah with the following recommended stipulations. This is a decision on the site plan application. Recommend to approve it with stipulation 1, the applicant shall address outstanding comments to the satisfaction of the town planner and town engineer as applicable. Number 2, final plan shall be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer and town planner. And number 3, final plan shall be signed by the commission and recorded in the town's land evidence records.
Motion made with 3 conditions. Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. All in favor of the is there any discussion on the motion? I'm sorry. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, now item B has been withdrawn.
Yep, so I received a letter yesterday that item B has been withdrawn.
Okay.
Item
Item C is deferred.
Item C is deferred. The only other one on the agenda is item 8A, public
Yes.
hearing, which, as you'll see in the staff report, the applicant has requested additional time but needs to open the public hearing, so they've requested to open the public hearing and immediately continue it to the meeting on December 17th.
So we need to read the legal notice on this one.
Yeah, what we've been doing is Lynn is just reading opening the public hearing
Just
for
read the
discussion.
byline on item 8A, if you could.
8A, yes. PZ 2427 SUP Pinewood Landscaping LLC, Mark and Linda Lemke. Special use permit application for the construction of a retaining wall pursuant to ZR 12.4.9. Property is located at 8 Yellowfin Court, Stonington, NBL 165-5-1L. Property is located in the RA-40 zone.
Thank you. All regular members are seated for this item. Public hearing is called to order. And I guess we just need a motion to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to table and continue this public hearing for Pinewood Landscaping, PZ 2427 SUP, be continued to the December 17th meeting.
Thank you, Ryan. Motion to table item 8A. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Any questions on this item or the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion to table passes. Has everybody looked at the future public hearings? Any questions or comments on new submittals for Clifton?
I don't have any.
Then, if there aren't any further questions or business to come before the commission, I think the appropriate motion is in order.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn this hearing.
Motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I believe there was a consideration of not having the FHI before Thanksgiving. So what was the date?
December 11th.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Once I have a completed agenda from them, I'll put it on the website. But it'll be December 11th, that's Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
And then, just for the commission and everybody, I've discussed with Francisco, because the next meeting would be during the Christmas period, so I think we're just gonna do the one virtual meeting in December, and then we'll probably have to double up with 2 virtual meetings in January or February just to make up for the missed meeting. But that's all I have so far. We don't have dates for those.
Is there any way you can just extend the timeframe for the meeting? Instead
terms of
having it be
hour-
from
in
7
terms
to
of-
9?
So-
You know,
You mean have it go longer into the
Commissioner
evening?
Morrison
Yeah, I don't have any objection.
requested that, and I think we talked about that at the last meeting.
Well, we
because
talked about putting it on the agenda to talk about being rushed and maybe more meetings or somehow, I don't know, something. But
So
it's
that'll
going to be on the
meeting
agenda
for
to
the-
talk
That's on the
about.
agenda,
Yeah, so
Okay.
that'll be on the December 11th.
Because it wasn't, but then I asked you to put it on
Yeah,
the other
so-
day.
That'll be on the December 11th agenda. We'll talk
Correct.
about the procedural.
The
timing and all
procedural
that stuff.
thing.
How we arrived at the original schedule, I think, is important too. And financial constraints that are upon us that we've got to also consider.
But what I said, this is like one of the most important things this commission's done forever, and to feel rushed, and, you know, if we need to meet just without FHI, right?
I think we all understand, I think we all understand that, and I think we ought to leave it until.
We'll leave it at the next meeting,
Yeah,
but.
yeah, and I agree with you. You know, we have got the public's interest on this now, and particularly in some of the last, you know, you've been with us through the residential and the commercial reviews, and prior to that, it seemed to go fairly smoothly, but the issues that generate the most interest are the commercial and the residential zone. So I agree that we may have to take a look, but if that translates into financial considerations, I don't know what we do about it. So I just want to bring it up now so that we don't have a lengthy discussion. We all agree at this end, let's extend it another 6 months. And I say that just, you know, for sake of discussion. And find out that there's, you know, no money for the additional consulting fees for the additional time that's required. So I look forward to those discussions, though, and I don't disagree that you know, we simply don't have enough time to get into it in sufficient depth. So the discussion is warranted for sure. With that said, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Meeting is closed. Thank you.